I don't know if you guys have seen this. Shout out to Flat Earth Awakening. And believe it or not, to Walter Bislin. I'm sure you guys know who he is. If you don't, well, you'll probably catch him in your comments section at some point. But I want to play this video. It's 3 minutes and 45 seconds. Actually, it's mostly music, so I'm just going to mute it. There's only one part that has any audio. But what this is this is taken from Walter Bislin's Flat Earth Modeling app. And what it does is it shows the personal atmospheric dome and how it works. Now, I have to remind you guys that Walter Bislin is a ball earther, right? He is absolutely not a flat earther. He thinks it's silly. He's battled, in several comment sections. He battles flat earth FE core. He's just really a baller. And what's amazing is he has come out with this app, and it shows precisely what we have been talking about this personal atmospheric dome, right? And this is very similar to P-Brain's graphics, but it shows the sun and the moon rotating above a flat earth, and with our personal atmospheric dome, how it actually is perceived by us. And it's really quite an amazing app, and you can actually go there and play with it on his webpage. But I just want to let this run a little bit so you can see actually what's happening here. You can see the continents and you can see the stars and how that you're perceiving them. If you move latitude, anywhere in the latitude, you can see, of course, that personal atmospheric dome then starts turning on its side until you get to the equator. Then it's pretty much equal, and that is, of course, when we've seen all of that star trail footage that splits off in two different directions at the equator. And then if you continue further south, the personal atmospheric dome kind of starts tilting back up at an angle. So the one thing about this also that I want to point out is not only does this back up 100% what Jaron has talked about and a lot of flat earthers, but it also backs up 100% exactly the idea of how an EQ mount on a telescope can work. Just like we said before, when you are dealing with optics and we have a personal atmospheric dome, and it doesn't matter if we're looking at it with our eyes or a camera is looking at it, if you set up a telescope and calibrate it to either the South Pole, South Celestial Point, which is not a star, or North Pole or Polaris, calibrate it, and then you follow any of these grid lines around, it follows and tracks absolutely perfectly on a flat Earth. And in fact, beyond that, if you really start thinking this through, and this is the one thing that the ballers never, ever, ever want to take into consideration in their models, is how you see how our perspective actually works. They're always trying to use these orthographic type views, side-on views, and do all their math and geometry from that. Well, great, and it works that way, but unfortunately, we don't see the world that way, right? And neither do telescopes, ladies and gentlemen, okay? So what this not only proves is that the telescopes, the EQ mount telescopes can work and do work on a flat Earth, but if you think about it, if that same personal atmospheric dome is then applied to a ball Earth, then the EQ telescope will not work at all. Okay, think about that for a while, guys, because you've got basically a double whammy there. You're going down the latitude of the globe, which is what they say the scope is tracking. However, at that point, they are assuming absolutely no personal atmospheric dome, and if you were to factor that in, it wouldn't work at all, plain and simple. So, at this point, I think I'm almost obligated to ask the ballers to prove to us, using atmospheric and our perspective in a personal atmospheric dome, how an EQ mount telescope could possibly work on a globe. I don't think it can. What do you guys think?
Well, no, I've come to the conclusion a while back that any curvature, whether it's of the Earth or the alleged celestial sphere, the curvature of space, as it were, all of that is because of lensing, refraction through the atmosphere, and yes, our personal atmospheric dome. And I think the best analogy that I've come up with is, picture you've got a basketball court with upturned glasses of water filled with water, every square foot. And if you could observe from within those little glasses of water, say there's a light going straight across the basketball field, from depending on which glass that you're in, and each one of these glasses would represent your personal atmospheric dome. You're going to get a different instance of that sunrise or whatever, of that light passing over. And, I think that is this illusion that has given people the misinformation to believe that, either the Earth has curvature or we're surrounded by a celestial dome. But again, science was not aware of refraction of light or didn't acknowledge refraction of light until the 1600s. And so, in my opinion, every scientific evidence for the globe or for the celestial sphere prior to the 1600s should have been revisited, and that includes Galileo, Eratosthenes, Columbus. I mean, you name it. And I think that's spot on.
Yeah. Very
Well,
much so.
name real people, man, please.
Okay. So there you have it. Jaron has talked about this many times, and this is exactly when certain people tried to debunk the the ITRH app. They're saying, oh well, see, it's completely off, and they have absolutely no consideration whatsoever for the way that we actually perceive this. Okay, now, and guys, I will post the link for this. But basically, if you just Google Walter Bislins, Bislins, so it's walter.bislins.ch,